So, how would you like to offer our listeners 10% off a body-positive plus-size thrift shop with an amazing online selection?
I would love that. Cake Plus Size Resale is for people of all genders, sizes extra large and up. They offer all kinds of clothes with femme, mask, and androgynous styles.
SAF listeners can get 10% off at the Cake Plus Size Resale online shop until December 31st with code SAF. Check out Cake at www.cakeplussize.com or on Instagram at CakePlusSize.
I paid for 2 seats, or like, they're both my seats, or like, I'm in fat, are all things that I've said in response to people who have tried to fight me for this seat.
Deck the halls with bodyposi. Fat, 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 fat. 'Tis the season to be cozy. Fat, 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 fat. Don we know our 4X apparel. Fat, 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 fat. Blast Mariah Carey's carol. Fat, 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 fat.
I'm Sophie,
I'm April, and this is She's All Fat.
the podcast for body positivity, radical self-love, and chill vibes only. This week, we'll discuss customer of size policies and our top travel tips, gifts for educating your family on the body positive lifestyle, and Aunt Terri. April, what are you obsessed with this week?
All right, this week I'm obsessed with 2 little things. It was a stressful week, and these 2 things made it a little less stressful. So the first one is a clip from, apparently there's a new Pokemon movie out. So I'm going to read the caption, and then we'll drop in a little clip of what happened. Okay. So the caption to this clip says, "Hi, I am just learning that Pikachu speaks English in the new Pokemon movie, and yes, it is extremely fucking weird.
Why won't you get a more Pokeball? It's because...
The fuck?
I always want to be with you.
What's his face? Ash, I guess. Mm-hmm. Ash and Pikachu are like
Ash
on
Ketchum.
the ground. Yeah, that's right. Ash and Pikachu are on the ground, and Ash asks Pikachu a question. Pika literally looks at him and she says, or he, who knows, genderless Pika, says, "It's because." And everybody in the audience just revolts.
Everyone's like, what?
They were like, no. People are so upset. And when I saw the clip, I felt the same way because honestly, it's like we're living in a universe where we're in the upside down. Down is up.
Looks wrong.
It's horrible. It looks wrong. Donald Trump is the president. I can't.
Even though it's animation, it looks like an uncanny valley thing.
There's already so many truths that seem to be complete falsehoods in any other universe. I already feel like we're living in a weird simulation. I don't need literally Pikachu speaking English, and not even Japanese speaking English. Yeah. It's complete bullshit. But so everyone's reaction really, really made me smile.
After you saw that clip and you realized that things you thought were, solid, firm realities were changeable, did it make you closer to believing in flat Earth theory?
I firmly believe that the only people who believe in the flat Earth theory are basketball players, almost exclusively.
And Tila Tequila.
Tila Tequila, rest in peace. She's not dead.
She's not
Why
dead.
do I think Tila Tequila's
She's
dead?
She's just dead to you
she's
because
dead
she's
to
a Nazi.
That's what it is. She's a Nazi. And then, I think you have to be either Tila Tequila, a basketball player, or the rapper B.O.B., who's always making videos about how the Earth is flat. And my other obsession this week is this little clip, which is my favorite type of clip on the internet. Is just like provided without context, just existing. So it's a video of a bunch of Black people at like a dinner or a barbecue or just like having a meal together, and they're singing a gospel version of Bodak Yellow with like such zeal and like such a complicated like
I love
harmony.
this kind of thing.
It's so beautiful. We'll take a little listen now. They're really bringing it vocals wise and energies wise. So shouts to them. Link in the show notes. Check out that video. So those are the 2 little vids I'm obsessed with this week. What are you obsessed with, Soph?
We've talked about scents. We talked about candles last week, or a couple weeks ago. A month ago, time is a flat circle. Mm-hmm. The Earth is not a flat circle, but time is. Yeah, I really like the Jo Malone perfumes, but they like curdle on my skin. Like, I don't know what the deal is.
You
like,
shouldn't describe yourself with like milk rottening words.
I think like, scents have chemistry and your body has chemistry, and it like smells different on you than it does just out in the world on a paper. So I recently gave you, April, my like Joe Malone citrusy perfume because it just started smelling weird on me.
It smells so good on me. Thank you so
I
much.
was really disappointed. But you're welcome. I did just find a perfume that I really like. I put it on my Instagram story, but it's the Glossier You perfume. I found it through our friend and guru, Joanna Spicer. But it just smells so good. It's like the idea of it. You know how all perfumes have ideas? Some of them are like your Britney Spears having a torrid affair in a hotel.
Yes.
Some of them are like, you're on a beach and you're a different celebrity. So the idea behind this perfume is like, it smells like you, parentheses, but better, or whatever. It just smells like you're clean, but you used nice bubble bath.
Ooh.
I really like it. I've been spraying it all over and I don't feel weird about it. I feel like it just like really blends in well with my smell.
Chemistry?
Yeah,
Okay, let
know.
me ask you this. So the one criticism I've heard of about you is that some people are saying that it doesn't last that long on your skin. How has your experience been?
I would so much rather do a couple extra spritzes, like put it in my purse and do a few more than like all day be like, I smell like way
Like
too
so
much Vera
strong.
Wang princess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. So it's hard for me to tell because I never notice a perfume staying unless I don't like it.
I see.
I think I usually do have to reapply halfway through the day, but I don't mind that. I would rather have it be like a lingering note than like
That's a lot. Yeah.
You know?
You don't want to be that. You've been at the place where like a guy walks by and it's like,
yeah,
oh,
it's like,
axe.
oh God.
Yeah.
It's like 8th grade, like locker room wafting out smell.
Please.
I bought it through Joanna's link where she's like a legit rep. You get 20% off with her. We don't have that, but if you buy anything on Glossier, you get a link for 10% off, and then I get store credit. So I'm putting that link in the show notes.
Support Sophie's You collection.
I'm going to have to buy more because I like it, but you guys will get 10% off too. Or you can Google Joanna Spicer and get 20% off. I'm just being real. She does offer more than me.
Why are you doing this?
Because I want to be real with everyone.
Well, we put her in the show notes once. Like, you could take a turn.
Yeah. Other scent updates. Got my birthday candle from Diptyque.
Smells great.
We're trying what is it?
Gardenia.
The Gardenia candle. Smells really good. Do you guys know about these Demeter fragrances? I was really into them for a while. They're the ones that like, they just smell like distilled essence of something, and they have all sorts of weird flavors, like cut grass or whatever. So I like honeysuckle for summer, and then I kind of like this one over there I have right now called mulled cider. Just smells like mulled apple cider, and it's kind of a fun thing. I don't wear it so much as I sometimes just like, I work at home, so I just like to spritz it around where I am and be like,
Yummy.
Those are my obsessions this week. It's scent updates.
Heck yes. Okay, so let's move on to our Apple Podcast review shout-outs.
Okay.
Thank you to Talia ZL, Pumping Mommy, You Pump Girl. Shout out to Nikki is Fat and Cool, also us. EPG123, thank you so much. Hey Bay 727, Izzy CND, and SAS 2018.
Thanks, guys. We do look at them and read them, and they just are so helpful for us for helping people find the show, and they make me personally very happy and feel fulfilled in my work. So
I often read them on the toilet and smile to myself privately.
So please keep leaving those reviews, and we'll give you a shout out right here. We'd also like to give some shout outs to our Patreons. Renee Atterbury, Erin Lee. Shout out to you, Erin. Emily Milligan, Gillian Kratzer. Tweeted us, Jillian, and correct me if I'm wrong. Jackie Quinn and Aaron Engstrom. Thank you guys so much for being our patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much for being on there with us. We appreciate you so much. And just a quick note about our upcoming schedule. Next week, we're off for the holidays. On the 21st, we have a little Christmas mini-sode coming at you. And then we'll be off again until sometime in January. We'll keep you guys updated via Instagram and Twitter. And if you have downloads on, then you'll see us just pop up in your podcast inbox. We have a new section right here called a tip jar. It's the saddest horn. Like a dying air horn. Sometimes our listeners send us little emails with information or tips, and they don't really fit at any of the other sections, but I want to share them with you guys because they're great tips. So we're going to read a couple of them right now. Okay, here's one from Hannah in Lansing, Michigan. Okay. Just listening through number 8, Boo, Fear the Fat, and Sophie said you'd rather be Jabba than Santa, and my super nerd just had to share some fun facts with you. If you want to get into the business of being a hut, here's what you have to know. Okay, for everyone listening, just in case you don't remember, this is in reference to the Halloween episode. I said some dumb thing about how I'd rather be Jabba the Hutt than Santa because I'd rather go for power or something. Yeah. Don't hold me to it. But
it was really provocative. Yeah. Here we are.
Here are Hannah's tips or like knowledge about being Jabba the Hutt. Number 1, make sure you're the largest slug because it's actually a contest, and the bigger the hut, the more power they have in the crime underworld. 2, slug skin is so freaking thick that huts aren't harmed by blaster shots, which I guess is pretty cool, but also I don't know what happens when they're shot. 3, huts have beastly digestive systems and can basically consume anything, so they don't have to worry about being poisoned by their enemies because they literally can't be poisoned. Does sound like Victor. He can eat literally anything. My point is that as crime underlords, the huts are pretty effective and there is a purpose for their alien anatomy. But of course you're right, and everything about them is still evil. Thank you so much, Hannah, for writing in. Now that I can be more informed about my, devil's advocate pointless argument about wanting to be Jabba the Hutt.
Now you're ready to join the Jabba lifestyle.
Yeah.
So congrats.
Okay, here is another tip for our tip jar. This person says, I'm emailing because I just listened to episode 5 and wanted to share this doco, as we say here in Oz. Shout out to Australia, about the origins of the polka. It's very white and very old-fashioned. Sorry, April. I mean, she knew. She knew she was writing this to help you, but also to hurt you.
To hurt me. It feels like pain.
Okay, but you can see the polka danced in its original form. You're welcome. I love that she put that in there. It's so funny. You're welcome.
We will link to this quote-unquote doco about this quote-unquote very white and very old institution. Enter at your own risk.
Thank you guys so much for those tips. Email us some tips in the tip jar, and we'll share them here on the show.
Sounds fun. Okay, we should really get to the meat of it, don't you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
The meat of it.
This week on The Meat of It, we are tackling a topic that was requested by some of our listeners and also that we really wanted to share with you guys. We're talking about traveling while being fat.
A treacherous topic, as we both know. So we'll share some personal anecdotes and also some tips about navigating if you're heading home for the holidays to be with friends, family. So I want to start out by talking about my biggest issue with traveling is plane anxiety. My most frequent anxiety attack location is airport bathroom, about to get on a plane. It's happened so often. For me, I genuinely think it comes from not understanding the mechanics of a plane. So every time I get in a plane, I'm like, why would I not die right now?
It does seem fake.
It seems fake.
It seems like you're in the Truman Show and they're just driving you around the lot.
Exactly. We're going to hit the ceiling any second. That's how I feel. So every time I get on a plane, I'm like, this is it. This is going to be the end of it. I've always felt that way. It's gotten better in the past few years just because when I was in college, in order to see my mommy every month, because I love my mommy so much, I had to get on a plane a lot. It was kind of like the exposure thing where it made it a little bit easier, but in general, I still get very, very scared and my hands sweat. Yeah. So here's some things that have helped me with my fear of heights / fear of getting in a robot bird machine.
Yeah.
So part of my plane anxiety is that when we're about to take off, I feel a ton of pressure in my head. I think because my inner ear is really small, in addition to me having a small mouth. Mm-hmm. So I feel the pressure and it kind of feels like it's all caving in on me in addition to being really stressed out. So a good tip I've learned is there's something called Earplanes. We'll link in the show notes where they're just little earplugs you screw into your ears when you're taking off. They're good if you're traveling with a cold because you could pop an eardrum if you are taking off and you're congested. But they're also good if you just tend to feel a lot of pressure upon takeoff. If you put them in, it takes 90% of that pressure away, and it's almost like you can't even feel it. Because when we're taking off, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. I'll look around and everyone else is fine. And I'm like, it must just be my head or something. So when I started wearing these earplanes, it really made that part much less painful. And then it makes me less stressed out knowing that okay, I'm not going to get the head pressure. It's going to be okay.
That's good.
So that's helpful. And of course, the other stressful thing about flying is like, guess who's fat, girl? She is. Not fat in a way that I have to deal with, some of the issues we'll talk about later as far as just like why are seats so small?
Yeah.
#conspiracy.
You're small fat.
But still the issues with just like being stared at, with people clearly not wanting to be sitting next to you because you're like gonna rub up on them or whatever. So my strategy with having to get on a plane is like, I'm gonna make this the most pleasurable experience that I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, comfy clothes. I always wear the same uniform when I'm getting on a plane, which is Lane Bryant stretchy leggings so I can move around and feel free. You know what I mean? Also, a hoodie. Here's why. Pockets, obviously. And also, I can cover my face, so if I'm crying upon takeoff.
April!
Or just, like, making a face in general. Like, I
You
might
did
be,
fine on our trip to New York.
Yeah, I did okay, I think. But usually if I'm either gonna cry or just make a face that's like pure horror, if I'm wearing a hoodie, I can pull it over my head, pop in my headphones or whatever, and I'm just like living my life and nobody knows that I'm like spiraling out of control. So that is my go-to outfit as far as feeling like I'm gonna be protected and create my own little like fort for myself within my clothes. So start there. Then, I don't know if people know this, but if you have the Netflix app on your like phone or iPad, you can pre-download certain movies or shows. So like if I know I really want to watch all of Gilmore Girls, my comfort show, if I want to watch season 6 of Gilmore Girls when Luke and Lorelai are together, we'll pre-download those ones so that way you don't have to buy like airplane Wi-Fi, which I don't trust.
When I went to that weird writing retreat, the person in the row in front of me on the airplane was having issues with the Wi-Fi, and they kept pressing the call button and being like, my Wi-Fi's not working, it won't connect to the Wi-Fi. And the flight attendant was so nice. Like, before she started, she was like, you're not trying to stream a movie, are you? Because, like, we don't have enough bandwidth for that. It won't let you do that. And they were like, no, I'm trying to get on the internet. And then at the end, she was like, what were you trying to get to? And she was like, oh, I was trying to go to Netflix. And the flight attendant was like,
Interesting.
I told you couldn't stream a movie. And she was like, I was trying to stream a TV show.
Wow. Oh, yeah, that's right. You were live tweeting this to me. A TV show is a form of entertainment that is simply a short movie.
And the flight attendant, who had been so nice the whole time, looked at her like, is you dumb or is you stupid? Like, it was unbelievable. People act wild on planes.
Yeah, not me. I'm here to like create a little cocoon for myself, watch my shows, and get in and out. Yeah. So we've talked about the clothing that we're going to go for to be comfy. We've talked about the preparation of Netflix. It's also time for your favorite snacks. So I have some go-tos. I don't always, but whenever I can when I'm traveling, I like to get like a vitamin water with a cap. I don't like holding the open cup on a plane. Like, when they give you the cup, I'm like, I don't want the cup. It's an obligation. It's going to spill on me like 100%. So I'll get vitamin water and then I'll get a bag of mini Oreos. Ooh. Like those feel like just like pop them in my mouth. But for me, it's like I'm going through DSA. I'm already getting stressed out. Then I remind myself, hey, we're going to have our little snacks. We're going to watch our little shows. Mm-hmm. It's going to go great. And I have all my like faves in order. So once I get to the airport, I have my favorite outfit on. I have my Airplanes ready to go. I have my Netflix. I have my snacks. It tends to be a more pleasurable travel experience. There you go. So if you want to travel like April, those are my top tips.
Great.
What about you? What mindset do you get in when you're like, all right, we're getting on a plane?
I like traveling. I don't like the actual flight so much unless it's like just the right amount of time where I can like read something and then get off. Mm-hmm. I also used to love flying when I was a little kid. I would get all dressed up and then they would give you like the little pin. Aww. It was so fun.
That's cute.
Much less fun now.
Do they still try to give it to you?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean flying is much less fun. You don't get a pin.
Yeah, that's true.
So when I gained a bunch of weight and had to start using the seatbelt extender, that was like, I think for a lot of fat people too, that was like a big moment for me where I like, when I first had to use it, I like cried a lot afterwards. I felt very humiliated and embarrassed. I was like not very body positive at that time. And I was just like, dang, this really sucks. And it does suck to have to ask for the world to accommodate you when, you're just as valid a customer as anyone else. But I've now figured out like my strategy to approaching flights that makes me the most comfortable. I always fly Southwest Air. That is just because I'm from Arizona. And so Southwest Air goes everywhere out of Arizona. There's like $40 flights out of there all the time. Wow. So this is specifically for Southwest. So if you are using another airline, a lot of airlines have policies like this right now, but I don't know the exact steps you have to take to use them. So if you are like me, a fat person who is wider on your butt than the width between two armrests, which is 17 inches.
Wow.
Which is not that big.
No, it's not even 2 feet.
Probably if you're a man above 6'2", it's also bigger than that, even if you're thin. Just saying. I read an article about how, like, airline seats have progressively shrunk over the years.
Please, we'll link that in the show notes. Honestly, it's the biggest conspiracy.
They're just like money.
Yeah.
Money. There's, like, not enough room anymore for, like, the average person to put their head down all the way between their knees, which I couldn't do anyways, but that's, like, what you're supposed to have for safety.
So it's not even safe anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways, so they're just in there for the profit because we live in a capitalist hellscape.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you book your flight, if you need more than one seat, first of all, welcome to the good life. Honestly, because having that extra seat, I don't take up both seats. This would be different probably if I took up the entirety of both seats. But really, for me, it's just like I'm just kind of a little bit too wide to fit into one seat. Like, it's much more comfortable for me to sit with my legs not super squished together and I spill over into the next seat. But with two seats, I have a whole seat next to me.
So nice. You can have your, like, totes out.
No one touches me. It's great. So welcome to the good life if you have to do this. So when you book a flight, you book it for two people. You go on the Southwest website, you say two travelers for your flight. You fill out your name, and then you do everything the same for the second traveler, but you put the letter X and then the letter S. So it's like extra seat as your middle name for the second one. Their policy is called customer of size policy, which to me is like, all right, sure. Of size.
We're a podcast of size.
It just sounds kind of like they're trying. I'm like, yes, I am Lady Sophia of size. It's so stupid.
Oh, jeez.
But, like, they're trying, I guess. And then when you get to the airport, you check in, and then they can print they give you, like, a little extra ticket that's not super useful that just says reserved. And they give it to you at the check-in counter, at the gate, and then when you get on the plane, first of all, you get to pre-board, which is also key. And if you're traveling with someone, you can get them to pre-board with you.
Hell yeah. When we went to New York, it was like, this is my +1, April. And I was like, yo, it's lit. It's
like,
lit.
It doesn't seem that bad now, does it?
No, it was
like,
nice.
When I first had to do this, I was like, I'm so embarrassed. And then I was like, this is great.
This is awesome. Many perks.
Okay, so you get on the plane, you find your seat. I prefer a window. Then you put the reserve sign on the seat next to you. This is the hard part. Here's why. Southwest policy is that it's open seating. Apparently, except for if you have a reserved seat. They don't tell anyone else that. So you just having a little piece of paper that says reserved in, like, small letters, people are constantly trying to fight you for your seat. Or they're like, it's open seating. And you're like, no, it's reserved.
Yeah.
And you just finally have to be like, I paid for two seats, or like, they're both my seats, or like, I'm in fat, are all things that I've said in response to people who have tried to fight me for this seat.
It's so hard. It's so hard because not only are people just fat phobic in general, but they, like, are going onto the flight with a mindset of Lord of the Flies, because that's like what the airline breeds. It's like, get there, put your bag somewhere, fight for the seat.
Literally, when you get on, the airline pilots or the flight attendants all announce something like, it's open seating, so take first one that you come across that looks good.
Yeah.
And that just makes me have to be like, no, this one's reserved. So I've tweeted at Southwest several times about this. And literally one time I tweeted like, why is it useful to give me a sign that says reserved if your airline attendants say no seat is reserved? And the response was, they mean except for reserved seats.
How would everybody know what they mean?
Right. I was like,
my God.
How would they know that unless you said something? Next time I go on a flight, when I ask for the seatbelt extender, which I do as I'm walking on the plane, because I have it up front, I'm going to say, hey, I have an extra seat, so could you help me if people try to get the seat? And I'm going to see what happens. Like, several times, someone has been belligerent enough that the flight attendant has come over and then be like, oh, they're reserved, which take you somewhere else. And the person looks at me with, like, hatred. One time, someone came over at the end of the flight and was like, it's really rude to pretend someone's going to sit there. And I was like, I bought both seats, bitch.
Oh my
It's like,
God.
So that's the bad part about it, that you sometimes have to fight people off.
Just get into, like, a casual war with a stranger.
I mean, it's just very irritating. But also, then you win because you have both seats and you have a whole seat next to you. And you can spread out as much as you want. The other downside to this policy, specifically on Southwest, is that you have to purchase both seats this way. So it requires having the cash for 2 airline seats. But after the flight, here's the second key. You call them to get the refund. They don't automatically do it because they're counting on you not doing it. You just have to put it in your calendar. Like, here's the Southwest customer number. Call them. You have to have the flight number and your reservation number, and then say, like, oh, I'm calling. I did customer of size policy. I need my refund. And then they give you the refund. It's like very easy. Sucks that in that way it's kind of reserved for people who can afford to prepay for 2 seats. You can, when you get to the airport, just say, I would like to use the customer of size policy. And then if there's an extra seat, they will print out the thing for you. But that only works if your flight's not sold out or oversold, which is more and more the case.
That's true. Dang. I mean, what you just described is like political in its nature in multiple ways, which is that like you have to have the financial standing and the class to be able to front 2, or willing to get into the credit card debt to be able to front 2 seats. And then also it's just like we have to jump through so many hoops. Like, how many steps?
Hoops.
Was that like 12 steps?
It's so many.
It was so many steps.
It's so many. And it's just like, when I had to look it up, it just took like a big burst of like body positive strength, because it feels humiliating to be like, okay, where's the fat customer policy?
Yeah, the normal policy doesn't apply to me, so I guess I gotta dig up, like, why does it have to be like this?
Right. It's like, number one, you could just make your seats a normal size.
That would fit, because by the way, you guys, as of 2017, the average woman is a size 18. Can a size 18 fit in that? I'm a size 18 sometimes.
Yeah. It's like
sometimes. It's not consistent.
And you know, if there's like a guy next to you, he's gonna use both armrests. So like,
and he's gonna have those legs spread wide. Jeez Louise. It's just like, this is a very clear point to point to. People are like, why do you need body positivity? Why would it be a political movement?
Like, this is why.
This is why.
Because it's tied up in money, and it's tied up in having to self-advocate. Nobody's going to help you with this, especially because it is an extra step on the part of the airlines. They don't want to reserve a seat for you, and they definitely don't want to give you your money back for it.
Nope.
The fact that they announce no seats are reserved and make me have to be like, except for mine.
And just make you fight for it.
And make me have to defend it. Pisses me off so much.
It's so ridiculous. And this is the kind of thing that, like, again, if you hadn't been already on your body positive journey, it would make you feel like, I need to force myself.
I wouldn't have done it. I would not have done it.
Do it. You wouldn't even know, because like you said, it's not obvious. You have to go look into, does this exist?
Yeah.
Go through all these hoops.
No, I would have just
so frustrating.
Kind of laid on my side, you know, the whole time.
Just been uncomfortable, just had an imprint after. Jeez.
Yeah. But again, I do want to underscore, if you are nervous about using this policy, the uncomfortable moment is just there at the beginning. I'm going to update you guys on what happens next time if I ask the flight attendants for help, which I should not have to do. But I am going to do that, and I'll update you guys. And then you have a whole part of a seat next to you that's open.
And then if you bring someone with you, it was like we're having our own sleepover. We're
we had the
reading
whole
a
aisle.
magazine. We were actually like editing an episode of this podcast. We were doing it.
It was great. Like, if you need that extra space, then take it, because it's goddamn yours.
And it's not fair, by the way. Like, when you're going through this discomfort and everyone's looking at you like you're the problem, you are not the problem, but this is something that you can do if you're able to make it a little easier for you.
Yeah.
It should not be necessary. This is bullshit.
It's not like thin people are like, I love airline seats. They're very expansive and comfortable.
No.
You know? Like,
and they're not the right size.
They're barely the right size for thin people. So airlines should maybe think about stopping trying to cram us all into their, flying tubes.
Jeez.
And be more accessible and amenable.
Well, definitely, you guys, if you end up traveling this holiday season and you do fly Southwest, tweet us your experiences. We'll tag them, and maybe if they see that. Yeah. I mean, I hope that they're good experiences. That's the thing. I don't want to, have to do a whole task force. I just want everyone to be able to, get on a plane.
Just, go home.
It's stressful. Yeah, why can't we go home?
Just want you to hurdle through the air at thousands of miles an hour or whatever.
I just think, honestly, you guys, if you have a bad experience on a plane this holiday season, for sure tweet them, because they don't want the bad PR.
No.
They really don't. They would at least send you, a voucher or whatever to keep you quiet. But I think it's just about, be vocal about your experiences, because what they want is to be, miserable, silent in the corner. And let them continue to get that cash.
Because here's the thing, also, I didn't know about the customer size thing until I saw someone talk about it in a fat acceptance Facebook group. And then I was like, of course, they want my money.
Yeah.
They want to be able to move me through the air. Mm-hmm. They just are not going to,
they don't want to make you a priority.
Yeah. But, they want your money. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, while we live in this capitalist hellscape, places do want your money.
I mean, that's what we're supposed to be slaves to, right? So if you really want that cash, you better make my experience more like doable if it's not going to be comfortable.
And if you have trouble figuring it out, like just tweet at us and I'll try to help you walk through it, because it can be like intimidating to go through this experience. But I did it and it's fine. It's just like uncomfortable for a sec, and then you can just spread your legs so wide.
Just spread. You had like your like tote bag, water bottle, this one, that one, that one. Like, it was very cool to see. So, final question for you in our little chunk. What do you wish then people knew about traveling while fat?
I don't think people realize how much of these situations we have to think through beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just show up drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish then people knew how much of this we have to think through, and just how much pressure and how heavy that is on our shoulders. It's just another example of something that we have to pre-process, gear up for, have our armor on for, and then de-stress after. Like, the best thing that I do is I just like have you and Isabel and Lindsay and Victor, and just when I'm sitting there, I'm like, my shoulders are up, I'm so tense, waiting for someone to come by and try to fight me for my seat. And then every time it happens, I just text you like, this lady just said this. And then you're like, that fucking bitch. Like, I just like gear up to have my like friends ready to support me, because it's something I need support through. Obviously, like Lindsay and Izzy are both thin, or straight size, and they are very supportive, but I wish other thin people would know to offer that support instead of me having to be like, can I lean on you for this stressful thing?
Well, I honestly think a lot of people, if they do notice something like that happening, their instinct might be, oh, well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to draw more attention to it.
Right.
But I would actually urge you to do the opposite. If you guys are getting on a Southwest flight this holiday season and you see that someone's like fighting for their customer of size, or you see that anybody is like clearly has a bag on the chair and like perhaps has a reason for it, I would just be like, hey, what's going on? Is this your seat? Like, do you need help?
I had a man one time, I put my bag on the seat next to me, and then I put the customer size slip on top of it, and a white man sat down in the aisle and tried to push my bag over to put his bag on the seat.
Jeez.
And I was like, that's also my seat, and he got up and went to a different seat.
Good.
I was like,
fuck you. I just think this is an arena to really like walk the body positivity walk, because body positivity, a key element of it is like accessibility. Like, these places are not meant to accommodate us. So if you see that someone's having an issue, as an ally, like, step up. Like, a lot of people, to be keeping it 100, want to call themselves an ally, and when the time comes to act on it, like, shy away. Totally. I'm like, your hashtag is great and it is helpful in that space, but also like, step up. Yeah. Because otherwise, honestly, if you're in those situations, you feel so alone and you feel so alienated and you feel like a spectacle and no one's paying attention and no one wants to get involved. Like, you better get involved if you want to call yourself a part of this. For real.
Exactly. And like, you're never going to make someone feel embarrassed for being kind.
No,
you know?
Not at all. Like, all we need is just advocates, because we're like by ourselves. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity if you want to, like, you feel like you're like exercising this muscle all year and you want to put it to good use, step in, because I'm sure you'll see some shit go down. Like, if we're all rushing home for the holidays, you'll see it.
And also, my other huge life-changing plane tip is just bring moisturizer, hella moisturizer on the plane, and just slather your face in it, because I find that the reason I break out after planes is because your face gets all clammy and weird from the air.
Recycled gross air. So
if you just like spritz your face with water and then put moisturizer on like 24/7, you don't break out.
Heck yeah. Oh my God. Those are the tips.
Yeah.
So you guys, please tweet us at She's All Fat Pod and let us know about your travel experiences. If some shit goes down, we want to hear about it.
Let us know.
If you have a surprisingly good experience, we want to hear about that too.
And if you need help finding another airline's customer of size or like customer of fat, whatever the fuck they're going to call it, policy.
I'm a person of fat.
Yeah. Just tweet at me. I'm like Sophie of Fatland. Like, please just tweet at me and I'll like help do some research, because I am pretty good at calling companies and like navigating their policies and figuring stuff out. And I'm glad to help our fat Millie out.
And also, if you guys have a Sophie in your life, which is someone who's willing to get on the phone and be like, excuse me, like, lean on them, because if they really care about you, they'll want to help you in this area of your life too, which is just about accessibility. Yeah. So lean on your Sophie, get your little items together, and let us know how it goes.
Yeah. So that's the meat of it for this week. We've solved the problem of flying while fat. You're welcome.
Today's episode is sponsored by Cake Plus Size Resale, a body-positive resale boutique founded by Kat Polavoda. In addition to their website, Cake has a brick-and-mortar shop to serve the rad fat community in Minneapolis.
Shopping at Cake lets you play with style in a body-positive space where your selection isn't limited to just one rack in the corner and your needs are at the forefront.
The shop is in my hometown of Minneapolis, and something like this is way overdue in the Twin Cities. I will be stopping by when I'm home for the holidays, and I'm so excited to explore all the cute, affordable, and current styles in this affirming atmosphere that Kat has created.
Shop online using code SAF to save 10% through the end of the year, or mention us while shopping in person to get that discount IRL. As Kat always says, life is short, eat the cake.
And now it's time to ask a fatty. If you want advice, you can send a voice memo of yourself asking a question to FYI@She'sAFatPod.com. You can record it on your computer or the voice memo app on your iPhone. Just keep it short, about 1 minute max. Or if you're shy, you can send us a plain old email to FYI@She'sAFatPod.com. And we might answer your question right here on the show. Send us a voice memo. I really like those. I feel like I've been clear about that. Okay.
This week on Ask a Fatty, we have a very special letter from Hannah. Okay. Subject, holiday shopping that educates. Ladies. Ladies. I know you, man. Yeah. Okay, sorry. That's for my urban listeners.
My God. Keep going.
First off, I love the podcast and just subscribe to your Patreon. Heck yeah. Thanks, Hannah. Thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you, Hannah. I want to know if you can recommend any reading or gifts that could be given this holiday season to educate family members or others in our lives who are notorious for cloaking unsolicited advice to lose weight and concern. I face this backlash constantly with my immediate family, and I'd like to give them resources to inform them about the realities and harshness of their words without necessarily directing them to fuck off. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much,
Thanks, Hannah. Okay, so for the purposes of this Ask a Fatty, we're going to call those who do this, those in our lives who, quote, are notorious for cloaking unsolicited advice to lose weight and concern. We're going to call those our Aunt Terris.
Oh my God. Aunt Terri, today is not the day.
It's not the day, Aunt Terri.
For some tips on specific food-related Aunt Terri bullshit, 2 episodes ago, our Thanksgiving episode, Sophie and I did multiple skits to give you some tips on how to navigate those conversations. So check out those. And we also have some tips on some books.
Okay. Number 1. On our resource page on our website, you just go to our website, www.she'sallfatpod.com, and in the footer, we have a link to our resource page where we have a lot of resources. Specifically, I'd like to point out the book published by The Body Positive. It's called Embody, and I think this is the one on our list that could be like most easily given to someone who isn't comfortable with body positivity, because a lot of the other books on there are like, fat and deal with it. How I said, fuck you to my thin family, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
which is like great, but like give yourself 5 years. Yeah. That's a lot.
Like they're great for fat people to get themselves, but it would be a little bit aggressive, I think, to give someone
to slide that to Aunt Terri. Like she's like, really? You're like 2 scoops? Read this. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a lot.
It's like, Aunt Terri, fuck you. She like slides it across the table. Yeah, so I think this, the book by The Body Positive, Embody, I think it's a really easy one to give to the people in your life. Just be like, oh, I loved this book. Like, what do you guys think about it? Would love to share it with you.
Also, little plug, I would encourage your family members to listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
I think this is a great place to, again, not to pat ourselves on the back, but I think honestly, if people are just starting out and you can tell that they have like the capability of being more tolerant, which not everybody does, but if you recognize that in them, you think they might enjoy this, and it might be a good like primer on how to get started thinking about other people in a body positive sort of way.
Yeah.
That's not a book, but it's a podcast. It's more fun, to be honest.
I didn't even think about recommending us.
We're good.
We're good.
We're a fucking resource. Yeah.
You know, just because we are all about that intersectionality, I also just wanted to shout out some specific resources for fighting racism or sexism, which are, you know, bad. So also on our website,
nice.
I was like, how much of a soapbox do I want to get on? And I decided not a lot.
Okay.
So you could give someone a subscription to a magazine you think that might educate them. Like a Bust magazine is one of my favorite ones. It's from Canada. I really like I really like them. I think they're so cool. Also, just a subscription to Bitch Media. You could help support, like, you know how you can give people gifts in their name by supporting something and then, you know, whatever, they get a login to Bitch Media or something. Bitch Media is out here doing great work, and that's a great gift to give to someone. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to a roundup of, like, books you can give families with kids if you want them to have, like, if you want to give a kid, an elementary school kid, like a book, you know, would be body positive. There's a bunch that are like, oh, this is about a black girl who loves her hair, or like, oh, this is about like a really tall girl who loves being tall, or whatever. Just like, especially for little kids, I think there's very simple stories out there that can be very helpful for them to see. And finally, if you're white and you have someone you can talk to about wanting to be a white ally. So I know that the whole like wear a safety pin to show you're an ally thing is like, it was very quickly, it milkshake ducked itself.
Misguided. It seemed like a cute idea, but in reality it's a little, no.
Not great. But there is this thing called a safety pin box, which is created by two black women, and it's basically just a monthly box. I believe monthly you can subscribe a box of resources for white allies. So by subscribing to that, you're not only educating yourself or your loved one who you choose to give it to, but you are also using direct monetary action to benefit two black women creators. So I highly recommend that option as well.
Another thing that is really important to me and might be important to you if you want to give the gift of becoming more aware, becoming more tolerant of the world around you.
The gift of becoming.
The gift of becoming, truly. I would encourage you to read and gift books by women of color and also authors with other types of marginalized bodies. So more than a couple that I've loved in the past year or so. Lindy West, Shrill, we've talked about a lot. I think Lindy has such an amazing flair for writing and also so approachable that if you already thought like fat people are annoying, if you read Shrill, you might think differently. I think it could change somebody's mind. So I recommend Shrill.
She writes about her experiences and also about culture. So I think it's not quite so like, listen to the problems of fat people. Yeah. It's just like, oh, here's some cultural criticism.
Totally. It's a great entry point. Next is, I really like The Turner House by Angela Flournoy.
What's that?
So it's fiction. It's about this black family that lives in this area of Detroit that like was originally all black and then was sort of, there was an attempt at, what's it called when the white people come in? Gentrification. But so basically it's just about this house that's been in the family
Revitalizing?
No. It's about this family that has owned this home for years and years and years. And so it's kind of like, sort of like Gabriel Garcia Marquez-esque in that it's like about the family throughout the years, how they change, and also about how mental illness like shows itself in different members of the family. Dang. So really interesting look at mental illness in the black community, which is like a complicated topic. I think Angela handles it well. I would check out The Turner House. It also has a really pretty cover, so make a good gift. Wow. Another one I loved this year was Redefining Realness by Janet Mock. Another one if you have family members who have questions about like a specific trans woman's experience and kind of about how to understand and talk about those things. Yeah. I think it's like I'm like constantly wrecking this book. It's sick. Janet's incredible. I would check out that. I have not read this yet, but excited to read Gabourey Sidibe's new memoir, This Is Just My Face. And
really excited to hear how she talks about weight and dealing with being attacked for her weight in many different ways.
In interviews, she's really had a nuanced way that I have not heard other actresses talk about their bodies. So I really recommend that one as well. And if you guys read these, please let us know what you think.
And then I just want to add, I was just looking at this. I was like, oh yeah, these are both white women. Oops. If you want to give some just straight up fiction that might help expand minds and mental horizons about bodies and the possibilities of different bodies, I would recommend Dumplin by Julie Murphy and Dietland by Sarai Walker. Sarah E. Walker? I think Sarai Walker.
I always hear about Dietland. I've never read it, though.
It's being made into a TV show. I'm excited. Ooh. If you're going to be sitting down and watching TV with your family, 2 documentaries on Netflix right now that you could recommend. Caveat. I watched this first one, Misrepresentation. I had a few issues with it, but overall, recommend it.
Maybe we can talk about it in an episode. I've seen that doc too.
So if you have a family that's like, let's watch a doc, or as our Oz listener says, a doco. And then also I just found out this new documentary specifically about body positivity called Embrace is on Netflix. Haven't watched it yet, but want to, and we'll update when we watch it, could be an option to point out. It's hard because truly what needs to happen is your family, your Aunt Terri has to be open to having this conversation. I really think like all you can do is kind of set what your stance is, and they can like come to meet you, or they can't. Like,
because you can't shove this down anyone's throat.
Yeah.
Someone has to be already open and willing to the concept.
Exactly.
And just learn the steps.
And that's really, I just also want to say, that's really, really, really different from saying what they say is okay. So some ideas, if someone is ready to have a conversation with you, or if you just decide you're going to like argue with someone, which is also a valid choice, maybe not like the most fun one for a family get together, but sometimes people change their behavior just because they don't want to deal with something. You know what I mean? So number one, specifically in regards to the health concern trolling that you mentioned, we're linking in the show notes to a long FAQ on Kate Harding's website. Kate Harding, who I have some ideological quibbles with, but she has a lot of really good resources and is a big activist in the fat positive community. So we're linking to her FAQ page, which is called But Don't You Realize Fat is Unhealthy, where she has like just all of the studies that are like, you're wrong, wow. Diets don't work, you're wrong. So if you're looking to come at people with facts, there's that. Coming at people with facts in this way usually doesn't change hearts and minds, in my opinion. Here's another option is if you feel comfortable, if you want to, one way I've had conversations with family members go better if I'm trying to help them expand their mental horizons about fatness is if you start by saying, hey, I care about you. I know you care about me. And I wanted to know if you're open to having a conversation about some things you say that are really hurtful to me. Because who would say no to that? A monster.
A monster. And then, again, it's just about you and your willingness to be like, okay, I'm going to have the emotional labor of possibly having to defend my body in this conversation, which is very hard.
Yeah. I feel like Aunt Terri is probably going to say, yes, she wants to hear, and then wimp out about halfway through. Yeah. But at least you'll have planted the seed, So we're going to link to a Bustle article about ways to respond to fat shaming from your parents or family members. Here's a quote from it. Explain that you do, in fact, feel beautiful in your body exactly how it is, and that you feel disrespected when someone makes you feel otherwise. Regardless of where you are in your journey, you don't have to feel beautiful. I think it's important to if you want to have this conversation, be able to say that, like, your comments make me feel hurt and disrespected. And you don't have to justify that. That is regardless of any kind of health, quote unquote, truth they think they know. And then I just wanted to read this part too. When my mom says anything that has a body shaming flavor to it, I try to stop and remember where it's coming from. I know that a lot of what she says comes from her own deeply rooted body negativity. My sympathy for my mom's own struggle with self-love often outweighs some of the things she says to me, since I'm in a point in my life where I'm relatively at peace with my body. So I thought, like, that's a very mature perspective. It's not one that anyone is required to take.
No.
But I think it does help with loved ones that you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position with. If you can remember that people who are duped and tricked by diet culture and fat hatred it's sad that is happening to them.
That's a nice destination, I think, to get through, but also to get to. But I think if you're, like, pissed that Aunt Terry's trying it, fully, like, allow yourself to be pissed.
I'm just saying because this
uncalled for.
This writer specifically said she didn't want to just say fuck you to Aunt Terry.
Totally.
But as we talked about in our Thanksgiving mini-sode, it's not your job to convince people to treat you with respect. Their body image or fat-hating issues are neither your fault nor your problem. I just want to underscore that. So also, if you've tried some of these strategies or you've been hinting or gently trying to invite people to come to this table and they're not, and Aunt Terry's like, what? No, how dare you? Whipped cream or like whatever, then just want to say it's totally, totally valid to simply set boundaries for yourself and respect and enforce those boundaries and hope that one day your loved one will care enough to come to you and ask what those boundaries are about, what's behind them, and why they've been set up. So here's some suggestions, again, for things to say to set those boundaries. Number one, please don't correlate weight and morality in conversations with me, period. I discuss my weight with my doctor and nobody else, period. I'm setting a boundary right now. I will not participate in discussions about weight loss with you. And then change the subject. Please don't discuss weight with me. Or Ask your family to have a no food or body talk if they just have to agree to disagree.
And I'm sure there will be pushback because people are like, I'm just trying to help you. And that's genuinely, I think, where some people think that feeling is coming from.
Yeah.
But I think if this boundary is important for you to have for your comfort, then you got to just stick to it.
Yeah.
You know, make it clear to them that it's not okay and you'll get out.
And don't forget that you can always just opt out if something, even if a conversation is going, well, and it just gets overwhelming for you all of a sudden, or if you find you want to try to help family members, but it's too hard, you can just opt out. You can just leave the room. You can text a friend, do the friend support system I mentioned earlier, and make sure that you're doing self-care, because it's okay to just decide it's too hard and you're going to accept Aunt Terri as the flawed person she is.
Because at the end of the day, it's you can withstand it for an hour. If you don't want to have the fight, if you know it'll drain you, you can ignore her, put on your headphones, listen to a podcast, and she'll leave. She will leave.
So, it really depends. My suggestions that we just talked about, really have to do with if you're down to be in the trenches for this conversation. They're very different from my, suggestions for people you don't care about.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think for more tips on, specific comebacks and ways to relate conversations around food and those are you sure you want another scoop type of comments, go back to our Thanksgiving minisode from 2 weeks ago. We laid out a couple of those, and please let us know how it goes.
And if you do think that they can handle some more real talk, then buy some of those other books that are on the resources page, some of them are very well written and very informative, and there's a whole lot of other articles on there too. Just how willing you think they are to do some self-examination. All the resources we mentioned in this week's Ask a Fattie will be in our episode notes. Thank you so much for that letter, Hannah, and best of luck. Please let us know how it goes. Now let's move on to It's Okay, You Can Ask, a segment where we sometimes have to re-record if it ends up being too problematic. Just to clarify, because of you.
Oh, no, because of you.
Not because of me.
No. Because of you.
No, because of you.
Sophie, let's not do this in front of the kids.
Oh my God.
Okay? We'll find out the answers to our burning questions like, who is Blake Shelton?
Oh my God. Or what is 106 in Park?
Okay, so my question this week is, I liked, oh, my computer's frozen. Okay, so on Hello Giggles, they shared this little video of Adele from the Hello video. So her hair is swirling around in the wind and she's screaming. And then the caption says, me at the end of the week when I'm 98% dry shampoo. We'll link it in the show notes. What?
That's funny.
I don't understand. Please explain to me what it means.
Okay, so it's bad to wash your hair too much because it strips your hair of its natural oils and it makes it dry and crackly and frizzy. But either you don't want to wash your hair that often because you're trying to, protect it, or you're lazy, which again, not a bad thing, TBH. You don't want to get up in time to wash, dry, style your hair if you're going to do that. And so you just want to preserve, or you had a blowout and you just want to preserve the style. Mm-hmm. So you put dry shampoo on the roots of your hair. So what you do when you put on dry shampoo, either it comes in the nice Bumble and Bumble one, which is literally, it's like a baking powder salt shaker.
Okay.
Is a good way maybe to describe it. You you just shake it on top of your head, and then you massage it into your scalp with your fingers, and then you kind of shake your head so that it distributes and you fluff up your hair and stuff. So it also adds volume to your hair. Okay, or you use the Rite Aid one that's called Psst, PSST. It's Psst. And that's you shake it up and then you spray it on your hair. And then it shows up white like deodorant, and then you have to brush it through, brush it in. And then the problem is that dry shampoo works very well. And sometimes you're on day 4 and you're I can get another day. Mm-hmm. And you just put more dry shampoo in. And then as you're rubbing the dry shampoo in, you're oh my God, my head is 100% dry shampoo. It's just a layer of dry shampoo. It's just it looks normal, but there's just a gray powder.
A film.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the joke of this is when me at the end of the week when I'm 98% dry shampoo is when you, I guess there's a couple interpretations of it, but if you get to the end of the week, you've washed your hair the weekend before, and you've just from Wednesday on been like, well, then like, number one, your hair will probably be very voluminous because of all the extra powder volume, number one. Number two, can't tell if Adele is like, if they're saying that she's like in pain. She's like, oh my God, my hair.
I thought it was something about like the way the hair is moving, perhaps. I couldn't really tell.
No, I don't think so. I think just that it's like, you have to put dry shampoo in, and then you have to like work it in. You have to be like scrunch, 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 flip, 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 flip. And then you're like, oh shit, my hair's like standing up straight.
I see. Okay.
Here's a good description. Is this person tagged their friend and put the crying laughing emoji and then quote, well, I can't salvage this. I think that's pretty accurate. You're just like, well, I just have a mane now. Like, it's just all dry shampoo and, like, you know.
So I think that's what the heart of the joke is like, now you're giving me so much volume.
It's just like, well, this is it. This is what it is.
Wow.
Especially because you have to work in the dry shampoo, and you're just like, all right.
Oh, my God. I just don't think if I ever put that on my head, it would go anywhere. Like,
I also don't think it would do anything.
Yeah.
I think it would look just like dandruff, maybe.
Perhaps.
Which it sometimes does for us, too, but...
I see. Okay, you guys, tweet us your tips and experiences with this dry shampoo that you speak of.
I use dry shampoo every day.
Really? I don't
You can also use it after a shower when your hair's dry just as a volumizer, too.
I see.
This meme's very relatable. You're just like, well, got to wash everything out of my hair, and my hair will be 3 times smaller.
Wow. I see. Secret white hair secrets. This is fascinating.
I don't know what's secret.
I don't know what you guys do.
Dang.
I have no idea. I've never put anything in my hair. Not like that. My hair is the opposite, where like if it's dirty, it'll just get super, super, super dry, and then it's time to wash and do a whole moisture process. So this is interesting.
Do you think my hair looks greasy all the time?
No.
You know why? Dry shampoo.
I see. Because I definitely remember, like, in high school, that girl who would wear, like, a low ponytail and was just, like, wet roots. Yep. It's like, Heather, your roots are soaking wet.
Well, there's just times when, if you have longer hair, your hair from, like, your temples on looks great. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to rewash it. The powder soaks up the grease, and then you have to brush it out. Does this make sense?
It does make sense. Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing.
And that's our show. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to the stuff we mentioned today. And don't forget to send us your questions via email or voice recording to FYI@she'sallfatpod.com.
Please make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's super important in making sure people find the show. If you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, we'll give you a shout out on the pod next week.
She's All Fat is created, produced, and hosted by us, Sophie Carter-Kahn and April K. Quio. We are an independent production. If you'd like to support the work we do, you can join our Patreon by visiting patreon.com/she'sallfatpod. When you pledge to be a supporter, you'll get all sorts of goodies and extra content. This week, we're posting more information, resources, and readings about traveling while fat just for our Patreon supporters.
Our music was composed and produced by Carolyn Pennypacker Riggs. Our website was designed by Jesse Fish, and our logo is by Britt Scott. This episode was mixed and edited by Maria Wortel. Our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter handles are @She'sAllFatPod. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
Bye! You have a grape in your finger.
I will use it.
Okay. I see it.
You don't see anything.
Just saying it. You're doing this to Maria. You're choosing to do this. Oh, my God.
Oh, you're being bad, too.
I'm not.
Please just intro it now.
Okay.
I'm just holding it. I'm not going to eat it.